everyone, this is Andrea from Andy's Corner, and I'm so glad that you're joining me today for today's story. Today's story, we finally get to see the reconciliation of Jacob and Esau. Now, last we know where their relationship was left was Esau wanted to kill him and Jacob went on the run, okay? And then the last we heard about Jacob is that he wrestled with the Lord. So let's dig in and see what happens and see if they actually reconcile. Genesis chapter 33. Then Jacob looked up and saw Esau coming with his 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and his 2 servant wives. He put the servant wives and their children at the front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph last. Then Jacob went on ahead as he approached his brother. He bowed to the ground 7 times before him. Then Esau ran to meet him and embraced him, threw his arms around his neck, and kissed him. They both wept. Now, this is one of my favorite stories about reconciliation, but I do have the favorite story that's coming up in a little bit. But what's interesting to know in that paragraph is that he put his wives in order of importance. So maybe he didn't trust that Esau had forgiven him, and he thought maybe if he attacks me, at least I still have Rachel and Joseph at the end that I could maybe save, or that Leah and the kids and Rachel and Joseph can run if they see the other wives get attacked. That was his strategy, or at least it appears to be that. Okay, then Esau looked at the women and children and asked, "Who are these people with you?" "These are the children God has graciously given to me, your servant." Jacob replied. Then the servant wives came forward with their children and bowed before him. Next came Leah with her children, and they bowed before him. Finally, Joseph and Rachel came forward and bowed before him. "And what were all the flocks and herds I met as I came?" Esau asked. Jacob replied, "They are a gift, my lord, to ensure your friendship." "My brother, I have plenty," Esau answered. "Keep what you have for yourself." But Jacob insisted, "No, I have found favor with you. If I have found favor with you, please accept this gift from me. And what a relief to see your friendly smile. It is like seeing the face of God. Please take this gift I have brought you, for God has been very gracious to me. I have more than enough." And because Jacob insisted, Esau finally accepted the gift. "Well," Esau said, "let's be going. I will lead the way." But Jacob replied, "You can see, my lord, that some of the children are very young, and the flocks and herds have their young too. If they are driven too hard, even for one day, all the animals could die. Please, my lord, go ahead of your servant, and we will follow slowly, at a pace that is comfortable for the livestock and the children, and I will meet you at Seir." "All right," Esau said, "but at least let me assign some of my men to guide and to protect you." Jacob responded, "That's not necessary. It's enough that you've received me warmly, my lord." So Esau turned around and started back to Seir that same day. Jacob, on the other hand, traveled on to Succoth. There he built himself a house and made shelters for his livestock. That is why the place was named Succoth, which means shelters. Later, having traveled all the way from Padan Aram, Jacob arrived safely at the town of Shechem in the land of Canaan. There he set up camp outside the town. Jacob bought the plot of land where he camped from the family of Hamor, the father of Shechem, for 100 pieces of silver. And there he built an altar and named it El Elohe Israel, which means God, the God of Israel. Now, that's a lot of information, but what stuck out to you? Something that stuck out to me is that Jacob still lied to his brother. Yes, he may have had an encounter with the Lord. And yes, he even recognizes now that his name is Israel, that God has a calling on his life. And he built an altar this time instead of a pillar. The altar is for sacrifices to the Lord. So it seems like Jacob is really coming into his faith in God and ordering his life in that sense. But he still does some of his old tricks. He still lied to his brother. His brother went south and he went west. West? I don't know. He went west. So he lied and then he's like, "Oh no, the kids might die, the animals might die. Go on without me." It's like to this moment, he still doesn't trust Esau, which in a sense, he almost doesn't trust the Lord. Because if this is of the Lord, don't you think God would protect him? It's very interesting, and I don't really understand it. But that, my friends, is what stuck out to me. What stuck out to you, and how can this be an example for you? I think overall, Jacob probably just wanted to have a clear conscience with his brother Esau. And so once he found out, okay, he doesn't hate me, he's not trying to kill me, we're good, and I can move on. Maybe that's the case. But the interesting thing is that in the future of Israel, Esau's territory with all his family becomes known as Edom, and his people and his relatives are called the Edomites. And actually, they are in opposition to Israel throughout the majority of the whole entire Bible. So, even though they've reconciled this one time, they still are in opposition to each other for the rest of the Bible. So, I don't know how that eventually turns out for them. I mean, clearly it didn't turn out for them. But what are we going to do? I don't know. But I think the key here is that God does love reconciliation. When we apologize for what we've done, when we humbled ourselves, Jacob called himself, "I am your servant," to Esau. He called his Esau my Lord. That's giving him like a position, a title above him. He bowed to him 7 times. He humbled himself and basically said, "Please accept my apology." And he technically didn't say sorry, or he didn't at least put it in the Bible. It's not in the Bible. But I think it's clear to see that Jacob humbled himself and wanted to know that he was in Esau's graces. So I think if there's somebody that you're fighting with today, maybe a sibling, maybe a friend, maybe even your parents, try to reconcile with them. Try to humble yourself, even if maybe you're not wrong. Now, Jacob was clearly wrong in this situation. He stole Esau's blessing. But sometimes pray about it and see if God wants you to come to the person first. Sometimes he might say, "No, wait for the person to apologize to you." Or sometimes he might say, "You know what, go and humble yourself and tell them, I'm sorry there was a miscommunication." Or, "I'm sorry I got mad." Or, "I'm sorry I hurt your feelings when I said that." Or, "I'm sorry I was angry." Anything. You can always own your own responsibility in the fight. And you can apologize for that. So, in this case, we can be like Jacob in the sense that he humbled himself and wanted to be on Esau's good graces. But we don't condone lying, okay? Jacob lied. We don't want to lie, okay? So, that's it for today. Join me next time when we read a horrifying and another terrible story. But it's okay because God is in it all. All right. Bye. See you later.